Why the hell does your wife complain so much? It's like she's never happy. You help out with the chores, she tells you you've done it wrong. You work 60 hours a week, she says you're not earning enough. Or you want to take a minute to relax and she complains that projects on the house aren't being done. It's exhausting. Now, if we haven't met each other before, my name's Luke Finn and I'm the founder of the ARC system, which has helped hundreds of dads just like you avoid divorce and reconnect with the wife. And on today's video, I'm going to cover the reason why your wife's complaining so much, mistakes to avoid that compound the problem, and how to transform her negativity into positivity. And make sure to watch this full video because I'm also going to cover a communication framework to help you deal with a negative wife. Now, with all that being said, let's dive right in. Now, I know you want your wife to change and you want her to stop being negative, but the truth of the matter is, brother, everything starts with you. You need to change first. You need to do the work first if you want to influence the people around you. So if you're looking for a quick fix and you don't want to do the work on yourself first, you're better off clicking off this video. But if you're ready to do the work that's required on yourself to create an unbreakable marriage, you're in the right place. And it all starts with the serenity prayer, which goes, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, aka your wife, courage to change the things I can, aka you, and wisdom to know the difference. And this in a nutshell explains why couple counseling is so ineffective. Both partners going in looking for the other person to change when in fact they only have power over themselves. So you cannot control your wife, nor should you want to control your wife, but you can influence your wife. And it reminds me of a quote from one of my favorite authors, Wayne Dyer. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You can influence your wife and you can bring about change in your relationship, but it all starts with you. And the way I like to describe it is like you and your wife are like two cogs in a clock working in synchronicity. So she's acting negative and the way you're behaving unbeknown to yourself is supporting that dynamic in the relationship. So as soon as you change, and you can imagine yourself as that cog in the clock, so we take you out or make you smaller or make you bigger, that whole system is no longer working. And this is how we bring about change in your relationship. And in social psychology, they even have a term that explains this change and they call it emotional contagion. So have you ever been in a room and where somebody walks in and just their pure presence lights you up, right? You feel great. This is emotional contagion where somebody's in a good mood and it spreads to everyone, right? It's infectious. But let's be honest, in your relationship, this is exactly what's happening, but the other way around. Your wife is coming in a bad mood, getting negative, and it affects you. It affects the whole family. So now you understand how you're going to bring about change and transformation in your relationship. Let's now look at the 4 main reasons why your wife is complaining. Number 1, it's her way of expressing frustration. So we all know those people that complain a lot more. They get into this habit. They see it as venting. They feel better after getting it off their chest, and the people around them don't feel good afterwards. But this is the number 1 reason, is it's her way of expressing frustration. She's not happy with what's going on in her life. Number 2, it's her way of seeking support. So she doesn't know how to ask for help. She doesn't know how to say, hey, I'm struggling. So what happens is it comes out as complaining. Now, number 3 is it's her way of communicating her needs. So her needs are not being met. Maybe she needs some more support. Maybe she would like some more emotional connection. Maybe she would like to feel loved more. And rather than being able to communicate her needs for that, it comes out as complaining. And the final one is number 4. It's a coping mechanism. So your wife has got a lot of stress in her life and doesn't know how to process that. So she complains as a way of coping with the stress in her life. And basically this all boils down to one thing, guys. If your wife's complaining a lot, she's got expectations in her life about how life should be, and her expectations are not being met. Now you understand why your wife is complaining. Let's look at the common mistakes that we make as men which make it worse. Number 1, we label her. So your wife is acting negative, and the biggest mistake we make is we label our wives as negative. So we put a frame around them, we see them as being negative, and we also communicate it to them like, you're so negative. And what we're doing is we're making it part of her identity. So rather than seeing it as a behavior, you're telling your wife you are negative. And she feels then like she can't change. So you're basically putting her in this box and she's going to keep acting that way. So don't label your wife. She can change. It's just a behavior. Number 2, unsolicited advice. This is the biggest mistake we make as men, is because we are fixers, we want to try and solve our wives' problems. We try to coach our wives and give them advice. Don't do it, because all that happens is that your wife is going to fight you against it. That change that you want to see, she's going to go the other direction. So don't give unsolicited advice unless she actually says she wants advice on solving her problem. Number 3 is we make it about ourselves. We get defensive when our wife starts complaining. We get worked up. We get angry because your wife's complaining so many times. Guys, this is not about you. If your wife's complaining a lot, it's not about you. It's about your wife. Your wife has problems that she needs help resolving. How to transform her negativity into positivity. Number 1, be a role model. So don't be the type of guy that doesn't like his wife complaining, but goes to work, comes home and complains himself. You're only making the situation worse. Remember that whole concept of emotional contagion. You want that positive energy to be contagious and infectious in your house. And remember, if you keep having a go at your wife for the way she's complaining, you're complaining about her complaining, and it's not going to help the situation. It's only going to make it worse. Now on to number 2, catch her doing something right. Guys, it's so easy to get into this cycle of negativity where we are constantly pointing out our partner's shortcomings. Guys, catch your wife doing something right. Maybe you've noticed how she's speaking with your kids in a positive light. Tell her, hey, Jen, I saw the way you were speaking to the kids the other day and how they lit up. I love it, the way you're showing up for the kids. And the more often you do this, you're confirming to your wife that she's a positive person. So you're putting a new frame around her, and she will want to adhere to that. Now on to number 3, be there for her. Your wife is having a tough time if she's complaining a lot. Remember, I told you earlier on about her expectations are not being met. And up until this point, maybe you're seeing it as your fault, which is not your fault. It's not your job to keep your wife happy. That's on her. And the same way for you, it's your job to make yourself happy. But your wife needs your support. But if you're like most men, you haven't been equipped with the tools necessary to be able to support your wife. So let me give you some quick tips here on how you can support your wife. Number 1, self-care. It starts with you again, brother. You can't be working all the hours that God sent you, to have all the stress in your life, and then to come home to a wife who's unhappy. You have no bandwidth. You have no emotional bandwidth to be able to support her. You need to take some time out for yourself to be able to relax and get yourself into a better space. So maybe you can do that on your way home from work. Take some time for yourself. Do the things that you enjoy so that when you can come home, you have that bandwidth to be there for your wife. Number 2, you need a mindset shift. At the moment when your wife is getting angry, you've been taking it on yourself as if this is your problem and it's your fault. It's not. When you hear your wife complaining, the mindset shift that you need to make is, my wife is struggling. My wife needs help. And when you have that in your head and you have that mindset shift, it creates an extra bit of space because you don't take it personally. You create space so that you can listen to her and start understanding what's really going on for her. Number 3, improve your communication skills. Nobody's taught you how to de-escalate arguments with your wife. Nobody's taught you how to dig deeper and to get a better understanding of what's going on for your wife so you guys feel connected. And when you can communicate effectively, this is where you take your relationship with your wife to the next level. Now you need to watch this next video to learn how to communicate like a boss.